represents a situation where you're always embattled, it's good when you can find somebody to trust. God expects individuals to always have some expectation and have some hope in the attitudes and the dispositions of others, to the point where it brings peace, tranquility, and serenity. It's good to be able to trust. The Hebrew thought is actually the substratum of the total Bible concept of trust, because even when you look in the New Testament to faith, it is derived from the Hebrew concept of trust. We call it faith in the New Testament. In the Old Testament, it was trust. It is this word that really spells out the meaning, and it's not similar to what we call faith today. In fact, it's sort of contradistinct to many popular concepts of faith, because we give faith an air of possibility, and it may happen, and really we teach possibility thinking for faith. But the word omen carries with it certainty or firmness. It is not that he may do it or he may bring me out, but there's a firmness, there is solidarity in the fact. The hifil, that's just some language thing, is causative, and what it says is that there is something about God that causes me to feel certain or sure, to be certain about something, to be assured in one's spirit, to just believe beyond doubt that what he said he will do, he will bring it to pass. The conjugation, the biblical word for to believe, and it shows that biblical faith is actually an assurance. It's a certainty. It's not like the modern presentation of possibility or hopefully true but not certain. It is certainty. And anytime you have a conviction, you look at faith, it's a substance of things hoped for, the hypostasis of things hoped for, the elikos of things not seen. And that elikos means conviction. I am convicted. I am persuaded beyond doubt that what God says he will bring to pass. And then, of course, comes the word bata, and it now expresses that sense of well-being and security, which comes from having something or someone on whom you can place your confidence. I have to have somebody that I can trust, somebody that I can lean on and know they won't break, somebody that I can lean on and know they won't fall. I need somebody to handle what it is I trust and put in their hands. The significance now of this word is to in whom to place confidence, and it's very subjective. I have to decide who to place this confidence in, and because I've decided to place my confidence a certain way, when my confidence is broken, I am broken for two reasons. One is you let me down. That's one reason I'm broken. You let me down. You did something I didn't expect, and you did something outside of what I hoped for. And so I'm hurt because you let me down. The second reason I'm hurt is because I was foolish enough to trust you. Let me go there. I better back up off that right there. I just saw some stuff flash all in front of my face. It's one thing for me to have confidence in you, and you let me down. And now I have the guilt now of having allowed myself to believe in you. Guilt. That's why it's difficult to overcome broken trust, because first of all, you feel foolish. You feel like I should not have opened up. And secondly, you are hurt because what you expected invested, you didn't get it back. And now I've got to end up not only having to deal with the person who broke my confidence, but now I have to deal with myself for allowing myself to release into an individual or person who has no trustworthy qualities or disposition. I feel it here. And it's really something that people do not wear, do not trust me on their sleeves. I wish you would come around with a sign. Don't trust me, shut your mouth. Don't say that, don't say that, don't say that. Because I'm sitting here waiting to hear it so I can expose you in the middle of it. And now they come and they sort of cloak it. You know, I get nervous when folks say to me, you can talk to me, talk to me. I know, Bishop, you need somebody to talk to, you know, and you can talk to me. Amen. I'm not looking for no more work. Amen. If you can talk to somebody else, talk. I ain't inviting anybody to talk to me. No, Lord. I got enough of that. But people, they cloak their unworthy trust. They're not worth the trust, but they cloak it. They don't wear it. They don't tell you. They pull you in. And then when you release yourself. And so this word now is a word that's the connotation is bata is feeling secure. And the word is not translated to believe, but it's translated rather to hope, to feel secure, to be unconcerned. And you see where trust is. Trust is where you're unconcerned. I'm not concerned about my brother. I'm not concerned about my sister. If I were concerned, I'd be a little more careful. Yeah. But Ta then adds the dimension of ambivalence, because now it is folk who live at ease. Can you imagine? With their neighbors, and they suffer for their credulity and their gullible attitudes, because while they are at ease, the people are taking advantage of them. Have you ever had any friends like that? That you were just at ease and you were just relaxed around them, and you know, you're going into your computer and you just spell out your password, and you're going into your safe and you just punch out your combination. You're at ease with the person around you. You have just let your hair all the way down, and you have allowed even the ugliness that you would suppress if you were around somebody who you didn't trust. But now you have let even that down until they're not looking only at you from the outside, but you have opened up and they have dissected everything about you on the inside, and stuff that they couldn't find out, you freely released it. You see, it's the give now before the other person. Another word for trust is from the Hebrew is to give before the other party has given. Are you with me now? This is another word that the Hebrews have for trust. It's another dimension of trust. When I trust you, I will give before you give me, because I trust you. I will open up before you open up to me. I will just lay it out before you lay it out. You know, I will just tell everything about me before I know anything about you. I will give you before you give me. Why? That's another word for trust. Because when you don't trust, you put stuff in escrow. That's what you do. When you don't trust, you set it aside. Let somebody hold it until you get yours, I get mine. But you see, when you trust, oh my God, you just give before. You just do all the giving, and then you hope it will come back to you. Trust. You know, trust is like walking to the edge with somebody and we're about to fall in love, and love is a big cliff, and I trust you, so I'm standing here with you, and I trust that you will love me like I love you, and I trust that you will treat me like I treat you. So I jump off the cliff only to find that you were still up there somewhere. You see, and depending on the fact that the individual will come with you. Trust is to release yourself and your ideas, and to speak things about what you intend to do, and not pack flatten them. You know, trust is to speak it out and be open with it. And God is to trust, is to expect to receive in return. And that thing that makes trust so impossible to repair and so difficult to repair, I scratch the word impossible, but it's so difficult to repair, is the inability to forgive oneself for believing in somebody in the first place. I wish I could take it back. I made myself such a fool, made a fool out of myself. Now I'm ripped in all kinds of pieces, and the person that I trusted and leaned on the most is the one who is doing the most talking behind my back and smiling in my face, because now I have trusted. What should you have not believed? I have a right to believe. I have a right to trust. It is the disposition of people and the attitude of our lives that have made us untrusting. I'm supposed to trust. Yes, why not? Why shouldn't I trust? There's freedom in trusting. It's life in trusting. What kind of life would you have if you had nobody you could trust? What kind of life would you have if you could not release yourself to somebody? I mean, people are supposed to be able to be free. Oh God, I feel something pushing me. One of my problems is I'm not like the rest of my friends. They're more guarded than I am, and I've got a point. You know, maybe they got a point about being guarded. They call me crazy. They say, Jones, you're crazy. What did you do and say and act in front of folk? You got to back up a little bit and become more guarded. What they're saying to me is you have to limit yourself. You have to limit your life. You have to get in some little cage and stay in a cage in order to make your life work. Well, I hate cages. I feel it here. There ought to be somebody in the group that you can get out of your cage, somebody that you can pull the shades and open up your windows of your heart and your mind. Some of us have become so guarded we ourselves are not trustworthy. I don't want to go there. We have become so guarded until you're sitting looking at somebody on the other side of the table, and they're looking at you and you're looking at them, and they have already decided that you are not going to be the best you can be. So they look across the table with suspicion, and you're looking across the table, suspicion with suspicion. You're looking at me funny, but I'm looking at you because I see something funny in the way you're looking at me. And so now you suspicious and I'm suspicious. You guarded and I'm guarded. What a way to start a relationship. Everybody guarding themselves. But trust then is when you open and when you believe and when you can understand people around, and you ought to be able to believe and open up that there is somebody around who is good enough to take your trust and handle it carefully. Can I take it further? Trust is defined. One writer defines trust as the absolute certainty of somebody's behavior, and absolute certainty. And now that means that when you break trust, it can't go back to absolute anymore. Before you did that, I trusted you. I was at ease. I didn't worry about your behavior or your disposition. I was free to be with you and free to allow you freedom with whatever I've had. I have had some people who would steal from me, and you should never steal from somebody who would give you anything. I wish I could talk to you here. And immediately it puts a cloud over that relationship. Immediately you don't see that person in the same light anymore. Sometimes you try to trust again, but trust is absolute certainty in the behavior or the actions of someone, and you want to trust, but now you find yourself wondering, what were they doing, or what are they doing now? Because now when you stop trusting, you've got to begin to control. Can I preach to you just a minute about that controlling spirit? Control now, because the more I control, the less I have to trust. I don't have to trust you when I know where you are all the time. I don't have to trust you. That's why I bought you that phone, you see. So, I don't have to trust you. That's why I got that little ankle. You thought it was a anklet. No, it's got a homing device. Because now I know where you are at all times. I don't have to trust you because I lock you away in the room. I don't have to trust you. You see, people who don't want to trust have to control. I'm going to preach this thing. I feel it coming. People who don't want to trust. Why? Because once you have broken my trust, you have now moved me into a place where I have to control. So now I'm calling you all hours of the night when you're supposed to be on a business trip out of town. I'm calling you at odd times. Why? Just checking on you. Just checking to see how you're doing. That's all. I just want to know. But it's 3:30 in the morning. You know, that's fine. I'm just checking. I just woke up and now just want to know where you are. Why? Because I no longer trust you. I don't. You have added a dimension to the freedom that I had, and you have limited me now to where I can't even trust you. I can't open up to you. If you notice now, this absolute trust or certainty in the trustworthiness of oneself or another has been broken. So now to lose faith in you is to lose my freedom to be around you. To lose faith in you is to lose my expression. I can't open up like I used to. And so to lose faith in you is to limit my existence. When you talk about the absoluteness of this word, I made an example this morning. It also suggests the infant in the hand of an adult. And I used to toss my son up as far as I could and then catch him when he came back down, my oldest son. And one time he broke my lip apart because I couldn't hold him off. I had tossed him so far. And all he was doing this. He wanted to go back. Little did he know how close he came to breaking himself up. But he trusted me to the point. When Jesus talks to us about our relationship with him, he says that we ought to trust him as little child, unless you become like a child. You know, that kind of child trust, because the child has not yet figured out where the pain and where the hurt is. The child just trusts. That's why you've got laws about adults dealing with children, because you've got to put laws on wicked folk, because they'll take advantage of a child's trust. I hope somebody's here today that needs to waken up and understand trusting again. My life is in your hands. And if my life is in your hands, there's some things I gotta be certain about. It is Micah then who is prophesying during the reign of Ahaz. And it's a bad time. If you look at 2 Kings 17:14 through 17, you will see the times that he is prophesying. And it's people who make times bad. Can I preach to you here? If you go through your life and remember some rough times that you had, it would be people who made your times bad. People talk about living in LA and living in New York, and I enjoy New York or LA. It's people who you enjoy in a certain place. It is not just the place, it's the people. The people who are around you can make you miserable or make you happy. And I've got news for you. I promise you that the person who has made you the happiest is probably the person who has made you the saddest. Don't go there with me now. I'm going to leave that alone too. When you talk about the absoluteness of this word, I made an example this morning. It also suggests the infant in the hand of an adult. And I used to toss my son up as far as I could and then catch him when he came back down, my oldest son. And one time he broke my lip apart because I couldn't hold him off. I had tossed him so far. And all all he was doing this, he was doing this. He wanted to go back. Little did he know how close he came to breaking himself up, but he trusted me to the point. When Jesus talks to us about our relationship with him, he says that we ought to trust him as little child. Unless you become like a child, that kind of child trust, because the child has not yet figured out where the pain and where the hurt is. The child just trusts. That's why you've got laws about adults dealing with children, because you've got to put laws on wicked folk, because they'll take advantage of a child's trust. I hope somebody's here today that needs to waken up and understand trusting again. My life is in your hands, and if my life is in your hands, there's some things I gotta be certain about. It is Micah then who is prophesying during the reign of Ahaz, and it's a bad time. If you look at 2 Kings 17:14 through 17, you will see the times that he is prophesying, and it's people who make times bad. Can I preach to you here? If you go through your life and remember some rough times that you had, it would be people who made your times bad. People talk about living in LA and living in New York, and I enjoy New York or LA. It's people who you enjoy in a certain place. It is not just the place, it's the people. The people who are around you can make you miserable or make you happy. And I've got news for you. I promise you that the person who has made you the happiest is probably the person who has made you the saddest. Don't go there with me now. I'm going to leave that alone too. And it is here now is the man who has to prophesy in bad times. And what God does to limit your life is to have people around, release people who limit you because they're not trustworthy. And the Lord now concerning the prophets, Micah says, thus saith the Lord concerning the prophets that make my people err, that bite with their teeth and cry peace, and he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepare war against him, unquote. Anytime you are living in bad times, you live with people who lie to you, and anytime you're bound around a lot of liars, you're around a lot of bad times, because it takes truth to release freedom. And when you live with liars, you live with nothing, because if it's not the truth, it's not anything at all. You might as well tell me. If I've got to make a decision, tell me the truth. Let me deal with the truth, because truth is reality, lies is fiction. And I don't need to make a decision based on fiction. I need a decision based on truth. If I won't deal with you after you tell me the truth, then I don't need to be with you. And don't let me deal with you because you're telling me lies, because I'm dealing with nothing. I wish I could talk to you here. The prophets would not tell the truth, and because they wouldn't tell the truth, the folk thought they were all right with God when they weren't. I need somebody bold enough to tell the truth. So if I need to get my life together, I'll get it together in God. Don't fake it with me. I didn't come to church for you to fake it. I came to church for you to tell it, so I can understand how to deal with it. I feel God helping me here. I'm waking. I got up now. I'm awake. You've got to understand this. Where there's lies, there's confusion. And that's why the people in Micah's time were giving sacrifice. And that's why to devils and sacrificing their own children, all in the name of pleasing God. God is not concerned about your sacrifice. He's concerned about the relationship you have with him. Because if your sacrifice could be everything you got and he still doesn't accept it, if he doesn't accept you, will the Lord be pleased pleased with thousands of rams or with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? Micah says, he showeth thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with thy God. They were few in number now, and the corruption was everywhere. And where there is corruption, trust is hard. When you're dealing with a group of folk that they're corrupt, and dealing with a group of folk that have personal agendas and self-aggrandizement, and you're dealing with a bunch of folk who are manipulators, wheelers and dealers, who don't care for the whole, but they just care for themselves. I wish I could talk to you. You just got to walk through there carefully, because when people are corrupt, they don't look for the best in you, because they can't control you with what's best in you. So they look for what's worst in you, and they want you to slip up and do something wrong, so they got hold to you. Oh, I feel something pushing me here. I ought to be able to walk into any group of saints, and if I need somebody to pray for me, I need to be able to say, help me. The church is the last place you can get up and tell somebody you need help. Because folk are looking to find something wrong in order to pull you down. The writer says, he opens by saying, the good man is gone. And I'll tell you this, good people are hard to find. Oh God, can I preach like I feel it? I've been around a lot of folk, man, but I'm telling you, to find somebody genuine and real is one of the hardest things. In fact, if you got anybody genuine or real in your life, I guarantee you God put them there. You couldn't find them yourself. The devil's got a whole lot of folk who look good, who sound good, but ain't no good nowhere. All you got to do is push a fork in them and find out they ain't done on the inside. I feel the Holy Ghost. It was the psalmist that hollered out, help, Lord, for the goodly man ceaseth, for the faithful fail among the children of men. You can't trust anything to anybody hardly anymore, because as soon as you turn your back, they mess up your business. I wish I could talk to somebody. You take your car to somebody to fix it, and it comes back worse than when you took it in the first place. You're paying for 5 or 6 different things. Why? Because the good man is gone. I was walking out yesterday from the hotel, and I tipped somebody for bringing the car. And as I reached over to tip him, somebody who was with me said, I already tipped him. Now a good man would have said, I already got it. You know, just go on, keep yours. Somebody already blessed me. No, they're not going to say it. They'll take that, and they'll take that, and they'll take that, because the good man is scarce. You can't just fall in love with anybody now, baby. You just can't let your heart go and talk about, I'm in love, I'm in love. They'll tear your heart apart, twist you upside down. The good man is gone. You got folks out here today that'll go to bed with you and know they got a disease and won't mention it till 3 weeks later. I wish I could talk to somebody. Y'all look like Alice in Wonderland. Y'all better come back to reality up in here. You can't just meet somebody you don't know and be kissing on them. Can I preach to you in this house? They won't tell you I'm all messed up. The good man is gone and violence is rampant. You got killers everywhere. You got killers in Givenchy. You got killers in Mugler. They ain't looking like they got a fatigue gone. They coming sweet and they coming dripping with honey. But they got killing in their spirits and in their minds. They'll kill your reputation. They'll kill your character. They'll destroy your life. They'll mess up your home. They just got killing on their mind. He said, I see killers everywhere, but my soul is hungry and I'm longing for the first ripe fruit. I can't even get some fruit up in here. I can't get anything to satisfy my soul. You know you're in trouble when you're hanging with folk and can't get no satisfaction. Can't get no satisfying at all. Spending your money and your time, giving up your spirit to folk, and there's no satisfaction nowhere. There is no right fruit. You got killers everywhere. And not only that, it's one thing for them to be a killer and leave you alone, but it's another thing when they sit around and connive to tear you apart. I don't know who's been whispering about you, but God told me to tell you, I got your back. I feel the Holy Ghost. They just sit around in little groups and they plan for you, and they set their evil devices, and some folk don't ever get tired of trying to put together another evil device. They've got all their energies in trying to bring you down, and I'm here to tell you, if you're still standing, it's because God has messed up somebody's plan. It's because God has shut somebody's mouth, and you ought to thank God every now and then when he pulls the cover off your friends and show you there ain't nothing but a snake up in here. I feel like preaching in this house. He said the leaders and the magistrates seek bribes. You can't even get any good judgment anymore, because it's only the ones who get paid who will give you the right kind of judgment. The magistrates and the leaders had to be paid off. You got to pay folk off now in order to get anything done. Everybody's looking for a piece under the table. Everybody's greedy, and everybody's got to be paid in order for them to operate with any kind of sincerity. I feel the Holy Ghost in here. But you can't buy good people, because a virtuous woman, I heard, her price is high above rubies. Can I preach like I feel it? Brothers, just tap your brother and say, brother, if you can buy her, she ain't the one, because good people can't be bought. He says they got to be bought. He says the best are hypocrites. They're like rose bushes, and the characteristic of a rose bush is the rose looks good, but don't go to grabbing the stem, because if you grab the stem, it's going to stick you real good. You got to look from afar off. Tell your neighbor, look but don't touch. I see some folk in this world that you got to look but don't touch. You better not get any closer than looking, because if you move to touch, something's gonna stick you. You're gonna grab something you don't really want. So you got to let God do the looking and let God do the directing. I'm preaching to somebody in here that's trying to recover from a mess. God told me to tell you, next time, just look but don't touch. No, sir. I might as well have some church in here. I heard him when he said, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like unto whitened sepulchres, which indeed to appear beautiful on the outward, but within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. You got some folk that want to tear you down because they're unhappy with themselves and they don't like themselves. And the last people you need to be around are a group of folk who don't like themselves. I feel like preaching in here. Because I'm broke, that don't mean I don't like myself. Because I live in a one-room house, you can come up in my one-room house and feel the joy. Because I don't need no palace to have joy. Because I have joy all in myself. I feel like preaching in here. The man says you're dealing with a lot of folk who on the inside are dead men's bones. And some folk hate to see you happy and hate to see you rejoicing. They hate to see you having a good time with your life. Where did you get that? And who bought that for you? You can't even buy a car now except somebody think you got some man buying you the car. The devil is a liar, honey. I bought this car all by myself. You want to know who's on the pink slip? Jesus is on the pink slip. I feel like preaching in here. I feel like lifting him up. You got to know how to love yourself and then let folk pull you into their sadness because inside they're dead men's bones. He said you got to watch out for your friends now. It's got so bad that you got to watch your friends. They might be well intentioned, but most of them are too weak to help you out of your trial. Can I preach like I feel it? The problem is most of your friends are your friends because they're leeching on you. And when you need something, they can't help you because they've been around you sucking off you. Can I feel this thing in my blood? I got to preach this. If I upset somebody, I'll call the ambulance. If I hurt your feelings, I'll call 911. I want to know the truth. The reason you can't get anything from the folk when you need something and you going through something is because the people you have called into your world are there because they're trying to get something from you. That's why when you're broken and you're upset, you can't even get a prayer out of one of them. Do you remember David at Ziklag when everybody came and took his folks? The men he was with turned on him, and the reason they turned on him was because they were with him only because of what he had to give. You need some folk in your life who were there not to take, but who were there waiting to give, so that when the hard times come, you got somebody you can lean on. I feel like preaching in here. Isn't it a sad thing that you got to go way cross country to find somebody you hardly even deal with to bless you when you got folk around you who have taken everything you got and have nothing to give you in return? He said you got to watch the guide now, because even the one who's supposed to lead don't even know where he's going. So you got to watch the guide lest he leads you astray. Can I preach like I feel it? You know, life is a mess when the folk who should know don't even know, and they won't tell you they don't know. They act like they know, and they're leading you down the wrong path. He said you got to watch your pillow talk now. You got to watch her that lies against your bosom, because you fool around and got hold of Delilah now. You done got you a devil up in the bed with you, and now you think you're safe about 3 a.m. in the morning, and God said you got to watch.